Hey, what's up? This is Wednesday on Golden State Boulevard, and I will be your host for today's episode. So, today's topic is a bit of a delicate one because people's emotions just run really, really high when you talk about it, and that is to say Truscum. Actually, now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm not sure if that is how you say it, but it's the name of the video, so there you go. Essentially, at least insofar as I understand it, people who would consider themselves a member of this thing, Truscum, they basically police other people's identities and talk about who is trans enough, and essentially a lot of them, at least so far as I've ever read anything about it, believe that being trans is a medical condition. Personally, my personal views on this, based on the things that I've read about it, primarily on Tumblr, also on other internet websites, but we'll focus on the Tumblr group because that's probably the biggest congregation of Truscum followers, believers, group members that I've ever encountered. And I would say that everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I don't agree necessarily with that creed. I really am not a fan of policing other people's identities. I think that we have enough to be worrying about with our own lives and our own transitions and our own gender identities and our own just lives in general, that who even has the time to go policing other people anyway? Like, I don't. I have my own stuff to deal with. But, to each his own. That being said, I think that there is a difference between having a belief about something and imposing your beliefs on other people. And what I really don't particularly care for with this group of people, especially on Tumblr, is that they're very aggressive in the way that they go after people. And the messages that they leave people and the posts that they write are very hurtful. And yeah, they're just mean. Like, to purposefully write something to somebody saying you're not trans because I, who am all knowing and all powerful, say so, and therefore you're not really a real member of the community and you're just acting, you're just pretending and blah de blah. Like, do you really get such a great kick out of that? Like, does that really make you feel better to, like, tear somebody down like that who's probably already going through enough trouble? Like, it's hard enough to even come out at all. You don't know what's going on in their personal life. I mean, they could have just had a really terrible fight with their parents about this, or with their friends, or their significant other, or XYZ. Like, you have no idea what's going on in their life. So to make it just that much worse, just because you can, just because you have the option to write them an anonymous, or not even an anonymous, message basically saying that their identity is invalid. Why? Why? That's just as silly as leaving a nasty YouTube comment. Why? Why bother? Like, do you honestly think that that's gonna make them on Tumblr, for example, if you leave a person a message saying, I don't believe that you really are trans, what do you think the person's gonna write back? Like, oh my god, you know what, you're totally right. Thank you so much for informing me that I'm not actually trans. I will, just go back to being cis. Like, what are you hoping to accomplish with that kind of a message, to be perfectly honest? And then when it's their own personal platform and it's a post on their own blog of their own personal beliefs, which, as I said at the beginning, completely, no problem with you having your own opinions, whether or not I agree with them, which is the way that it should be, I suppose. As long as people post things in such a way as to make it very clear that this is their own personal thought, then, what can you say against it? Freedom of speech and all that. But at the same time, it's just, these posts are usually just in such a bad spirit, and they're just so angry. Anytime anybody goes at a topic in such an angry way is so frightening, because anger blows out the candle of reason. It truly does. And if you're so bent out of shape about people who are quote unquote trans trenders, in your opinion, you're not even thinking properly. You're not even thinking it through when they write these posts half the time. And I mean, I understand in part where some of this anger comes from. I think that, and I've read at least, that people are afraid that because there's a, as they say, rise in popularity of being trans, that there's gonna be a shortage of hormones, that it's gonna be more difficult to get hormones, and those are legitimate concerns. I'll grant you that. It is really, really scary, the idea of being denied something that you genuinely feel like you need. But I don't think that, even though that's a legitimate fear, it gives anybody a right to step all over other people that they don't deem as worthy as they are of something. I just don't. And to come to their sort of central point of trans being a medical condition, I'm not completely sure that we want to know. I just don't think that the ramifications of finding out whether or not trans, being gay, being whatever is a medical condition is something that we really want to know definitively for sure, simply because the ramifications of finding that out might not all be savory. For instance, if we discover, let's say for the sake of argument that we discover that being trans is in fact a medical condition, and that they cut open the brain in such a way that they're able to figure out like what makes that happen. That could lead to some really, really, really not so cool stuff, such as, parents wanting to be able to choose whether their child will be trans or not, or gay or not, and changing it accordingly, or having abortions so that they don't or do have a kid of a certain type. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, God only knows where it could go from there, because then of course you would be able to say like definitively for sure who is actually trans and actually gay, and what social constructs and what's nature versus nurture and all this. And I'm just really not sure that we would want to live in a world where that was known. At least I just don't see what the benefit necessarily of that would be. And if you are a person who believes this and you want to let me know what you think would be good about knowing this, and what kind of benefits would come out of knowing for sure what makes a person trans and whether or not it's a medical condition, I'm open to hearing about it. But I, off the top of my head, cannot think of a single really good thing that would come out of that. And on that note, my lovelies, I think I'm going to let you go. I have a party to go to, in fact, so I will catch you guys next time. And yeah, take care. Alright, peace out. And again, I hope I am able to get my camera back into commission, because I'm not really about this YouTube uploading thing with their little app, but I'm working on it. Alright, ciao.